Hey, sixth grade. So today we're doing J4, adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators and word problems, shortcut WT5. This is very similar to when we were adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators in a previous lesson, but this time we need to figure out from the word problem if we are adding or subtracting those fractions. So our first example, under very specific instructions, a jeweler made one ring for the queen and one ring for the princess. The gem on the queen's ring weighed 1/2 of a carat, and the stone on the princess's ring weighed 3/8 of a carat. How much heavier was the stone on the queen's ring than the stone on the princess's? Okay, so by looking for those kind of key words, let's look over here at this problem. I want to figure out what keyword tells me if I'm going to add or subtract. I know it's going to be only one of the two because that's what this lesson focuses on. So I have this word heavier. Okay, heavier makes me think like the difference between. So that's going to be a subtraction problem. All right, so I know that my information that I have is I have 1/2 a carat here, the queen's ring, and then I have 3/8 of a carat for the princess's ring. And if I want to know how heavier the queen's ring is versus the stone on the princess's ring, I can use this information here. All right, so scrolling down, okay, 1/2. That's the queen's ring, and 3/8 is the princess's ring. So I already said that I'm going to be subtracting this information. So similar to what I did before, in order to subtract fractions with unlike denominators, I first need to find a common denominator. So I can already see, well, I know that 2 can be turned into 8 with multiplying or dividing. So that's what I'm going to do in order to find this problem. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to think, okay, if I need to make this 1/2 something over 8, thinking how, if I'm going this direction, how am I going to multiply or am I going to divide 2 by something to get 8? Well, I'm making it a bigger number, so I'm going to multiply. So 2 times something is going to give me 8, and it's 2 times 4. So I know whatever I do to the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing to the top. So if I did 2 times 4 to get 8, I need to do the same thing with the top numbers. So 1 times 4 is going to give me my new top number, which is going to be 4, because 1 times 4 is just 4. So now I can take this 4/8 and I can subtract it with my original number. So 4 over 8, I just changed that 1/2 to 4 over 8, still subtracting, and the 3/8 is the same. So now they both have the same number on the bottom. So now I can just subtract. And I know that now that I have a common denominator, that is what my denominator, my answer is going to be, over 8. And then for the top number, I'm just going to do my 4 minus my 3 to solve for that. So my final answer is going to be 1 over 8. Should be my final answer. Okay, let's check our answer. All right, so we jumped up our score, so that was a correct answer. Let's go ahead and jump to a higher level and see if we are getting it ready. So this one, let's look at this problem. So starting from scratch, Derek finished 1/3 of a reading assignment on Monday afternoon and another half of it on Tuesday afternoon. What fraction of the reading assignment was done by Tuesday night? Okay, so again, I need to break it down and figure out if I'm adding or subtracting based on the information that I'm given. So I know he did 1/3 the reading first on Monday. Then he did an additional 1/2 on Tuesday. So what fraction was done by Tuesday night? Okay, so one way that I can do this is I can just add these numbers together. So 1/2 plus 1/3, because at first he did 1/3 and then he did 1/2. And actually I should probably write these. 1/3, he did 1/3 first, so let's start with the 1/3. And then he added another 1/2 of the assignment together. Okay, because we want to know in total, what did he do by Tuesday night? Okay, so in order to do this problem, I am going to have to change both numbers. So an easy way to do this is I could just go ahead and figure out what's my least common multiple, or I can just always multiply these together. So if I multiply these numbers together, they're both going to be something over 6. So I'm going to change both of these fractions. This time I have to change them both. I'm trying to figure out what are they over 6. So if I'm starting, I'll just look at my 1/3 first. I'm going from 1/3 to something over 6. So if I'm going this direction, I'm going to want to multiply because 3 times something is going to give me 6. I wouldn't want to divide because that would give me a smaller number. So 3 times 2 is what gives me 6. So what do I do at the bottom? I'm going to do the same thing to the top. I'm going to multiply it by 2 up here as well. So 1 times 2 is going to go ahead and give me just 2. So 1/3 is the same as 2 over 6. All right, now I'm looking at my other number. I'm going to change them both before I go ahead and get started on actually adding. So this time I'm going from left to right. So 2 times 3 is going to give me 6. And again, whatever I do to the bottom, I want to do the same thing to the top. So this time I'm going to multiply that 1 by 3. That's what I did down here. And I'm going to give myself 3 over 6 over here. So I'm going to add this information together. So I'm adding my 2, 6, still adding because I want to know in total how much of the assignment he did, plus 3 over 6. And just like I did before, I'm going to add my top numbers together, and the bottom numbers, that common denominator is just going to stay the same. So it's going to be over 6. So it's still over 6 in my final answer, and I just add that 2 plus that 3 to get that 5 over 6 as my answer. So 5 over 6 should be my answer for this problem as how much of the assignment that was done by Tuesday night. He's done 5/6 of the assignment. And my score went up, so that one was in fact correct as well.